Hey guys, today I want to talk a little bit about going direct in 2020 and whether this should be the year to do it. So I'm in a couple of small cover bands and I'll kind of reveal my experience with playing very small venues, parties, and none of these big arenas where you have a professional front of house person controlling all of your volume and making sure you sound great. And I'll kind of go over some of the pitfalls of that, as well as ways to go direct and still maintain a tube amp. So going direct has its advantages. Typically, if you're going direct, you have a Kemper, you have a Helix, you have a Strymon, Iridium, and these are very, very small devices when you compare them to your 100-watt heads, 4x12 half stacks, or even 2x12 combo or cab and head. Portability is awesome. If you get one of the HX Stomps, you can just throw that in your gig bag, you're good to go. You have all of your cabs, you have all of that built right into that device. And that's pretty much any of the device. You have a lot of flexibility. You're saving your back, you're saving space. It's really a great way to go about it. But there are some people that are uncomfortable with that, and that's understandable because it is a digital device. You don't necessarily get the same feel, you don't get even the same tones, even with a Kemper. Typically, I feel like in the mix, you don't really notice that something might not be the real thing. So you don't just need to focus on the tone. The tone definitely has something to do with it, and you need to have a good tone as a guitar player. But you need to think of the big picture. You got to think, am I going to get a better tone with this legitimate, old school, half stack tube combo? There's not really a one-size-fits-all answer for that. I mean, maybe once Kemper comes out with Kemper cab, people will get that feel of an amp in the room, but that's not out yet. So one of the big pros of going direct is you don't have to deal with your volume. You don't have to deal with the mix. A tube amp in the room sounds pretty good. It sounds fine, but it's very, very, very hard in that situation to judge how loud you're being compared to everyone else. So you typically have someone off to the side going, hey, guitar, turn down. Okay, so now that guitar turns down. Well, now the bass is too loud. Now you yell at the bassist, hey, bassist, you turn down. And so on. So you can really get into one of these motions where you're just chasing volume issues all night, and it can be one of the most stressful situations as a guitar player or a musician in general. If you can't hear yourself, that's a problem. If you're too loud and people can't hear the rest of the band, that's a problem too. So going direct really solves some of those issues. So that's one of the big reasons to go direct, is you just kind of don't have to worry about as much. If you have monitors, which you need to have a monitor if you're going direct and you don't have an amp or a cab on stage, be it in-ears, be it floor monitors, as long as you have those things, and if you have a singer in the band, you probably do have some kind of a monitor setup. You, as a guitar player or as a bassist or any person going through there, if you can hear yourself through that monitor, it's fine. Another reason to go direct is to kind of save your ears. Having a 100-watt tube amp on stage blasting, in its sweet spot, it's going to cause some issues for your ears and volume overall. One of the other pros of going direct is you could put your amp in the sweet spot. So now let's talk about, you don't want to do a modeler. You really don't want to do a modeler because you don't like the tone, you don't want to deal with it. You can go direct with your tube amp. That seems to be a really hot market right now, is devices that allow you to go direct and retain that sweet tube tone and get that same feel while still going direct and having the pros of going through the PA, having someone else control the volume. I'll tell you what, I have the Notes Torpedo Captor. I actually have it hooked up to my twin back there. It sounds great. You get the same feel, you get the same everything. You just don't have to bring a cab there. You don't have to deal with the volume that it takes to get that amp in a sweet spot. So you can turn it up, you can crank that thing, then you don't have to worry about it. You can crank it, you can get that sweet saturation, that tube tone at much lower volumes, and you can still have the front of house guy controlling it. It's really a great time to be a guitar player because you have all of these options. And the reason why I got it here, I play out with my Kemper, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I actually got the Notes Captor because I don't really have room in this room for a cab. So I have a 67 twin reverb that was turned into a head by previous owner. I went through and replaced a bunch of stuff on it. But I didn't really want to get a cab because, you know, I have a family, kid, and it would just be too loud. I'd never be able to use it. So I kind of banged my head against the wall for a few years until I actually found that you can still go direct. Same thing I do with my Kemper sitting on the desk. You can get that tone. You just listen to it through the studio monitors, and it sounds great. And the Notes software, they give you 16 cabs. Like, I just can pick whatever I want. You can pick mic positions. It's freaking great. They announced at NAMM the Notes Captor X, which will allow you to load impulse responses right onto the device and add stereo reverbs, all kinds of stuff. And it really bridges the gap between the modelers, where you have all of the effects built into them. You have all of these tools to make your life easier as a guitar player, as a producer, as a performing musician. And now you can do it with your tube amp. You don't have to go direct. You don't have to have a digital device to go direct. So I think going direct in 2020 is a great idea. And if you can pull it off in your band, in your situation, I say give it a shot. I'm really impressed with all the devices that have come out to kind of bridge the gap between the modelers and the tube amps. You know, I think that a tube amp in a room sounds better than pretty much anything else, but these modelers are getting close. So to have devices that kind of bridge that gap where, okay, I can crank my tube amp at home, run it into my DAW, run my pedal board into the front of it. It reacts just like it would if I had a cabinet in the room. It's just I don't have to wake the kids up. And I don't get yelled at by the wife. For me, I kind of use both, right? Because I have a Kemper and I have a tube amp with a captor hooked up to it. And they both solve two different problems. But I could easily take that amp out with a pedal board and gig with it. And that would be the way I would go, because I can crank it and I don't have to worry about my volume. But I really got looking at modelers because our band, we rehearse an hour and a half away. We all live really far apart from each other, so we don't get together as often as we would like. And when we do, it's like an hour and a half drive. So taking a tube amp down that far, you know, setting it up, getting volumes all set in the room like that, it's just kind of, you know, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of extra work for probably not very much of a benefit. In fact, it probably is worse. So I got the Kemper because I can throw the Kemper in its case. I can throw the pedal board for it in a case, bring a couple of guitars down there, and I just hook up and I'm good to go. I have all my cables and everything hooked up to the board already. I already have levels set, so it's literally unplug, drive down, put the Kemper on the table, plug it in, and you're good to go. And then when I get home, same kind of thing. Unplug it, plug it into my desk, and I'm good to go at home. You know, I think that there's something to be said for that convenience, because it's so easy to pick it up and just plug it in and good to go. It's kind of like, you know, people say when you start playing guitar, make sure that you leave the guitar out because it's easier to pick up. You know, I am more likely to practice if my amp is set up on the desk and I just have to plug in and play, rather than, oh, I gotta unload it from the car because I had rehearsal, you know, tonight, and I'm worn out because I've driven for an hour and a half, and, you know, I just kind of want to do it, I'll put it off. Actually, more motivating, it's inspiring to have something on the desk and have something that's easy to set up and easy to go. So with that, I'm Ron Parker. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Have a good day.